The trench was not a place. It was a world, from the North Sea to the Swiss border, a distance of roughly 700 kilometers. A system of excavated earthworks ran through Belgium and France that by the winter of 1914 had become the defining geographical feature of the First World War. Not a line, but a network. The front line trench, the support trench, the reserve trench behind it, connected by communication trenches running perpendicular to the front, a system that in its full development stretched to perhaps 40,000 kilometers of total excavation. Men lived in that system, not visited it, not passed through it, lived in it. For days, for weeks, for months, rotating in and out of the front line on schedules that varied by army and by period, spending time in the front trenches, in the support trenches, in the reserve areas behind the line, and occasionally in the rest billets further back where the specific nightmare of the trenches gave way to a different but still exhausting form of military life. In winter, the trench system of the Western Front became something that the soldiers who experienced it struggled to describe in language adequate to the reality. Not because they lacked literary skill. The First World War produced some of the most powerful writing in the English language, precisely because men who were experiencing something beyond the capacity of ordinary language to contain were driven to find new language for it. But because the cold and the mud and the water and the specific quality of suffering that minus 20 degrees Celsius winter produced in bodies living in holes in the ground. These combined into an experience that the civilian world at home could not imagine and that returning soldiers often found impossible to communicate to people who had not been there. This video is an attempt to make that experience as concrete and specific as possible. Not the battles, not the strategy, not the political causes or the military decisions that produced the trench system. The daily life inside it. How men slept, how they bathed, how they ate. When the temperature dropped below minus 20 degrees Celsius and the trenches of the Western Front became one of the most physically hostile environments in which human beings have been required to live and work. Let's begin with the trench itself, because the physical environment of the trench shaped everything about how life inside it was managed. A frontline trench was typically about 2 meters deep and roughly a meter to a meter and a half wide. The walls were reinforced with timber, sandbags, wattle, or whatever materials were available to prevent collapse. The floor, the duckboards that were laid along the trench bottom to keep feet out of the worst of the standing water, was one of the most practically important pieces of infrastructure in the entire system. Without duckboards, the floor of the trench in wet conditions was standing water over mud of variable depth, and the management of that mud was one of the most constant and most miserable practical challenges of trench life. Water was the fundamental problem of the trench system. The geology of Flanders, the Belgian and French territory where much of the worst trench warfare occurred, was primarily clay, with a water table close to the surface. Digging down 2 meters in clay in Belgium in winter did not
Wet ones, soldier. Now take these and put them on. Move out!
Look at this! It's endless! We're drowning in this filth, and for what? What does it matter? We're just waiting for the next barrage anyway. right, men, to your feet, now! Grab your arms and fall in!
Hold that line steady, atenção! Ready, aim, fire drill! Ready, aim, fire drill!
Got another one, right in the seam.
That makes 20 today. We'll be clean by Christmas, eh? Look at that one, Tommy. Fattening himself up on my blood. Send him my way when you're done. A bit of extra protein.
Na los, Bewegung. Riecht gut. Hoffentlich genug für alle.